What up, y'all? It's your man ES the Hermit Star back again with another video. That's right, I got the glasses on today. It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? But I am here to do the end of the year reading for the sign of Sagittarius. So if you have Sagittarius anywhere in your chart, sun, moon, or rising, this is for you. End of the year reading. Before we get into your reading though, I do want to promote my book, Late Nights on Broadway. This is my novel here. I released it in June and stuff, but right now there is a promo going on that's going to end very, very soon. Okay, this book, you can get this book 75% off on the Smashwords store. Also, just the ebook version at this moment in time is the version that you can get 75% off, but you can get yourself a physical copy of this book minus the ribbon that says do not sell, because this is a display model, of course, you know, the back, the front. Okay, you can get your own physical copy. Once again, I will link that in the description box below, as well as the link to find the ebook version that is 75% off, as well as other stores where you can find both the physical and ebook version of this book. Just know that the deal, if you want to capitalize off the 75% off deal, it is ending January 1st, literally in a few days as of when I'm recording this video. So you really want to get on that, then you should get on it soon, because January 1st, again, last day of that. All right, now if you don't like to read or want to read, but you want a reading, you're able to do that as well. Shoot me an email. You can find my email again in the description box below. Like, you can find the other links. Yeah, do all of that. Just know that there are scammers in this community. So if there is someone claiming to be me, it is not me. I will never reach out to you asking you if you want to read. Okay, so there is that. We have your cards here. All right, Sag, let's get right into it. We have the 10 of Cups in reverse. They showed up in reverse for another sign. I believe one of the signs I read yesterday. I read for yesterday. You might have one of those signs in your chart. Who knows? But this is a broken home, separation, ruined dreams. I had to give it to you front like that. Now, I will say that, well, actually, the rest of this reading is kind of worrisome, but you can always flip the energy. And again, as I've mentioned before in past readings, and I'm going to say it here, and I'm going to continue saying this whenever I see fit, simply because energies show up either reverse or upright does not mean you cannot flip it. Just because if it may have showed up like this doesn't mean there is not something that you do that will flip it. Same thing goes for these reverse energies. You can do something that flips it, and you will have that family stability, that harmony that you might desire. You might desire that. You might not. You might not want that family stability. You might simply just want to break free from the home that you're in right now, you know, and this is just your confirmation saying, like, I guess the universe, like I heard this the other day, and I've heard this many times before, but it stuck to me the other day. Someone was saying, and I'm saying someone because I forget their name. It was a channel I don't really pay attention to. It just popped up on my feed. I watched it, and they said a great point. They said the universe always says yes, right? So if you give off an energy of, I'm not anything worth a damn, right? The universe is going to say yes. If you give off the energy and actually live, or let's just say in these energies of, I'm worth a damn and I'm worthy of X, Y, and Z, the universe is also going to say yes. You know, I'm paraphrasing their words, but pretty much what I'm trying to say here to you, Sag, is that if you are someone, again, with this negative mindset, maybe you don't want to be in this stable home. You know, so people get this idea that, you know, outside appearances, it may look happy and outside, but then there's always somebody, or maybe a few people within the household, they're not happy. So like you got people who will say, well, you guys are the perfect family, look at y'all, you got the wonderful kids, you got the beautiful wives, you got the handsome husband, whatever the case is. I don't mean everybody in this picture is happy. One individual they could have been happy for that moment, because the moment, it's contagious. When you're around positive energy, it's just as contagious when you're around negative energy, so it's like, it may have been a situation to where, you were happy at this moment because everybody else was happy. And then again, the happiness rubbed on to you, but it doesn't mean that after this moment, you're genuinely happy within this household. You're genuinely happy within this gathering, So it could be a situation to where you want this. You would know better than I do. This is a general read for you. So take it as it resonates. Next, you have the 9 of Cups. You had 10, as we just showed, and now you have 9. You lose a cup. And that cup could simply just symbolize your family. But you still have enough to feel like you're pretty much self-assured. Like you feel like you have enough, essentially. Like you may have lost this, but you don't feel like you really lost much, which is a good thing to see as far as the happiness scale goes, Sagittarius. Very much interesting. And hence why I kept saying, like, maybe you do want to get out of this stable situation. Stability, you're like, yeah, it's stable, but that's it. It's not bringing happiness. And people have this idea that stability, or what seems to be stable, is and I get it. I understand why people would equate stability to happiness. I mean, it's obvious. I equate it for my life. How I determine if I'm happy is if there is a healthy amount of stability. But I do understand someone that's like, no, if my happiness is not here, it truly isn't stable here. I can identify with that mindset as well, if that is what you're thinking, Sagittarius. So anyone out there, honestly, if you're of that mind where it's like, sure, I have a roof over my head, sure, I'm surrounded by people who love me, or whatever the case is, right? But I'm not happy. And because I'm not happy, are things really stable here? That's actually a great question to ask yourself, and that is a great question that other people should ask too. We'll continue on with your reading. You have the Magician in reverse. So manipulation and wasted potential, essentially. And I do feel as though that because you have lost whatever, this family, all right, this 10 of Cups, or you lost one aspect of it, and now you have from 10 cups, you have 9 cups, right? I think you are getting a bit too cocky here. It's like I said, it is good. It's a bit admirable to see that you can, in a weird way, of course, lose your family, right? And or lose your home, or whatever the case is, or lose even a dream, right? Because this is the card of ruined dreams, and still feel like life is going your way, like things are going just all right. But I wouldn't bask in that emotion, or at least bask in that thought, or tell myself that if I were you, let me put it that way, I would not sit in that energy for a long time, because of what these two cards are saying. Because I feel as though you're lying. The Magician is telling you you're lying to yourself. You're wasting your potential. You can get more. You can do better. You probably think life is so good not having a family. Life is so good being single, this, that, and the third. Whereas I think your spirit team is telling you, actually, I think you are someone who fears this. You fear this. You fear committed to a relationship, committing to people, and because you don't necessarily feel secure about yourself, that you think that you're able to sustain this or have a happy life, happy wife, happy husband, or whatever. This is all just coming to me, but I feel as though, Sagittarius, you are someone who you're telling yourself things are great, things are fine after essentially leaving this home of yours, right? And you're telling yourself that to cope with your fears and insecurity of your ability. You probably fear that you will keep a family happy within your life. All right, whether you will be a wife or husband forever, however you want to identify, whatever the case is applicable to you, but that you can maintain a family. It could be because of how you grew up. You know, you saw your family at one point, they were together, your parents were together, and then they weren't. And you may have grown up, you know, not really acknowledging the effect of their separation on you. And you just took it as, it is what it is, right? Where it's like, no, Sagittarius, you should express or acknowledge how you feel about that. The good and the bad. If you are someone who, Christmas just passed, hopefully your Christmas was fine. If you are someone who was like, I got to go to 2 Christmas different, you know, I had 2 Christmases, that's great. But aside from Christmas, aside from 2 birthdays or 2 Thanksgivings or whatever, right? Or whatever other holiday you get material gain and you got 2 different presents from both parents, right? Aside from all of that, how did this separation affect you? Like, be honest and real about yourself. I don't know you, Sagittarius. I'm just basing it off of what is coming to what is literally the downloads I'm getting right now and what I see from the cards. I see someone who is playing themselves essentially. You know, someone who is playing themselves, manipulating their own mind into thinking that they are okay with being single for life. They are okay with not being a family man or a family woman, or just, again, having a stable relationship in general. That you're lying to yourself and say, well, it worked out fine for my mom, it worked out fine for my dad, my parents, they separated, and look at me, I'm fine. You was fine with the double gifts on your birthday, sure, but aside from that, you get 1 birthday a year. Christmas time is once a year. What about them other days during the year where you wish you were in that stable home? You wish you had this. What about those times where moments when you were that kid sharing these moments with your parent? What about those moments that are going to creep up more often than your birthday, than Christmas? What about those moments? You know, I just named 2 days out of the 365 days a year, which means 363 of those days you can experience moments of missing the good times, missing this, wanting this. So you can keep telling yourself that, oh, double presents, yay, double Thanksgiving, yay. You can keep telling yourself that. Or you can simply just be honest and say, now that I'm an adult, hopefully you're an adult watching this, I only make these videos for adults, but nonetheless, hence why I, you know, with the whole birthday reads and stuff like that, you got to be 18 and older. I know I never mentioned that, but you have to be 18, at least 18, to get a personal read from me. I ain't reading for nobody's kid. Now, some of these kids stumble across these videos, that's your ass. You, the parent, not me. But I do have control over if your child sees a personal read, because if they give me if they reach out and they want one, I'm going to say, hey kid, wait till you're 18. Sorry. Anyways, back to you, Sagittarius. What about those times, again, now that you're an adult and you're like, again, you're telling yourself that you don't necessarily need this stable life to be happy. But I think the universe, and it might be the case where it's like, I want to avoid the heartbreak that I saw my mom, my dad go through via separation. I want to avoid the ugliness of separation in general. So I am choosing to stay single. I am choosing to not be, in a relationship so I can avoid losing somebody and then having to go through that trauma ever again, right? So I can avoid bringing children into the world and then me suffering the same fate that my parents did with my partner, and my children suffering the same fate that I did when I was a child. First of all, you don't know for a fact that these cycles are going to continue. Cycles only continue when you don't do anything. When you acknowledge that there's a cycle going on, it is now up to you to decide whether you want that cycle to continue or not. So if you acknowledge that there is a cycle within your life, that you don't want it to continue on, congratulations, you now have the power to make sure said cycle does not continue on, if that's not something you want. I'm not even going to say tangential. We got one more card for you. All right. The King of Wands in reverse. This is someone who has, who's essentially a bad leader. Now, broken homes happen because there are someone who thinks that they're the lead of the household, or they're a good leader and they're actually a bad leader. So broken homes can happen because of that. This is how your reading starts. This is how it ends. It starts off with your home with separation, essentially, right? And then it ends with you not being a good leader. Very much immature. Is very much someone who has undue expectations of the people that they're leading, right? And again, it that could be the reason as to why, or play into a lot of why you're like, I don't need this family, or or the reason as to why there's a separation in the first place. It could be that. It could be a situation to where you're lying to yourself again. To be honest with you, usually the Nine of Cups is not it's not a bad thing to see when it's upright, but it's like, I get the feeling these two together in this position. Now, if the position was not reverse, this would be obviously a totally different reading. You know what I'm saying? But it showed up like this. And I feel as though it showed up like this because you're essentially lying to yourself about how good you got it, how good you're feeling in regards to the situation. It could be what I was saying to you before, where you're lying about not wanting more when you secretly, something deep down is telling you actually do want more. You're just afraid of more because you're afraid of separating like your parents may have done. Or it could be a situation to where you had this, but you found yourself being a terrible leader, a terrible partner, essentially, a terrible father. Terrible father, terrible mother. And again, you're like in this situation where you're not necessarily admitting to being wrong. You're not admitting to, acknowledging, or at least where you may have been wasting your potential. Where you may have actually been manipulative. Whereas you think you were just being a loving partner, a loving father, right? If it applies, of course it applies. But all of this, no matter how you slice it, it could be a culmination of the two very messages I got in this one reading here. It could be a culmination of both. It could be one or the other. Or again, if it doesn't apply, it doesn't apply to you. But whatever the case is, in both of those scenarios, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself about not wanting something deeper than just you being single. And in the other situation, you're lying to yourself about you not necessarily being a toxic partner or not being an ineffective, not being a terrible leader. You know, a bad partner, a bad father, whatever, or not being someone who is manipulative as well, with the magician in reverse, once again. In either situation, you're lying to yourself. So whatever the case is, whether it's a culmination of both, whether it's the one that I said and that might be the case for you, or it's this other situation I just detailed, be honest with yourself, yo. Do some shadow work. It's going to be my advice for you, honestly, for the end of the year, and that's what the universe seems to be telling you. Do some shadow work and be honest with yourself. Do not go into 2025 with this icky ass energy, because I'm going to be for real with you, Sagittarius. Thumbs down the video, feel however you want to feel. Alright? This is some icky ass energy right here. You know, it's icky because it seems as though you're in denial about something. Now, the second one, the second message, the one about you not lying to yourself about being a bad leader, you disregarding essentially these people's emotions, right? They're saying, mom, dad, wife, husband, you're being manipulative and you're gaslighting them and telling them you're not. Something tells me I'm inclined to believe them over you. You know what I'm saying? That's more of a ick than the individual, to me, who is lying to themselves because they're trying to hide from a traumatic situation of their parents separating at a young age, or even if it was a old age, right? We get this, we as a society get this feeling that, now my parents never divorced. You know, my mother passed in 2014. Father's still alive. That was how they separated, right? One of them actually died. But as far as just in general, right, we get this in society. We have this thing where a divorce only affects kids. Where I can't speak as a child of divorced parents as an adult, but I was an adult in 2014. Nonetheless, I've seen adults who their parents divorced when they were adults, you know, as soon as they hit 18 or whenever they early 20s or whatever the case is, and even late teens, parents divorce. And yet divorce is only supposed to seem like, you know, and I'm not telling people they got to stay together and all this, and divorce is wrong. Not that man. Absolutely not. You know, I used to have that weirdo take about divorce. I don't have that shit now. But as far as just how, what I'm bringing it up is how it affects people, is it definitely affects adults just as harshly as it does children. I don't believe that there's this, it affects children. Yeah, sure. Mostly, maybe there are studies. I don't know. I'm not speaking from a scientific standpoint. I'm speaking of a standpoint of, if I was an adult and my parents, you know, both were still alive, and they divorced when I was 23, I feel as though that I would feel, you know, I'd still be hurt by it. I don't know if I would be as hurt, to be honest with you, now that I'm saying it, as I was if I was, I don't know, 13 years old, if they divorced at that age. But if I loved my parents and wanted them to stay together, I would still feel away, is what I'm saying. So whether it was a situation with you, Sagittarius, again, if this is applicable, where your parents, whether you're an adult or not, and they separated, acting as if though it doesn't matter simply because you're past the age of divorce mattering to society standards, no, that's not how you go about handling it either. So that's what I got to say to you. Pretty heavy message, but stop lying to yourself. Yeah, that's what I got to say to you, for real though. All right. If you would like a personal read regarding the situation or any situation in general, you are able to book that by sending me an email. You can find my email in the description box below. You can also find the link to my book, Late Nights on Broadway. There's a lot of separation that happened in this book as well. All right, it's a novel, very dramatic, comical, romantic, action. I all of that in one book that is a fairly, I would say fairly, you see the size of the book, fairly short read, just under 200 pages of this thing. Okay, it's on sale right now for 75% off. The sale ends very soon on January 1st. It's the ebook version of it that is on sale, though. Also, you can get the physical copy of the book. Again, check out the description box below. It will detail each link where you can find where the ebook version and the physical copy. Okay. Thank you for trusting me for being your intuitive reader for today, or at least one of your intuitive readers for today. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I hope that you have a very happy new year. All right. See you next year. Peace.